We start out in the first hour joining Cue Ball Carmichael in a discussion with one of his longtime friends in the business, Headbanger Thrasher.
Yeah, I love that place too, man. We had a lot of good times in there. It was It was some crazy days back then. One between that and MEWF in Maryland.
Yeah.
Jeez. I don't think guys realized that back then on the independents, the common thing was to see each other every week in a different area of the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, it was funny. The Headbangers were, I think, Smoky Mountain. I think I got you guys right out of Smoky Mountain. I think you were still there when you started wrestling for me at the Cove. And you guys, do you remember Frank and Roger, Death and Destruction?
Yes. You
guys had some great matches. You also had some great matches with Chuck Williams and Glenn Osborne, man. Jeez.
Yep.
I was we were Thrasher and I were chatting earlier, and you know that night at Woodbridge, Virginia, that's all over the internet as the night the business was exposed, they call it.
You know what's funny is I remember us all sitting outside, well, not really outside of the arena, but we were sitting like out on the other side of the rink, like in a lobby or something like that, waiting for this guy to come back and pay us.
Yes.
And then that's the only part I remember about that show.
I remember Iron Mike Sharp walking out of the office going, "That's it, boys. We're not going to get effing paid."
That's funny. That's so Iron Mike Sharp, too.
I know, you know, he was a great guy. He was a mainstay in the Northeast Independents for a long time, too. We'd see him around all the time. He was a really good dude, man. Did you, and then you guys went up top and got a little bit famous there.
A little bit.
I lost my number one tag team, man. They were gone.
Yeah. That was thanks to Cornette. Yeah.
Well, you know, Jimmy was great with that. I mean, he gave Cicero and I a lot of bookings up there, you know, just to fill in. So it was great, you know. Yeah. Most of the time we got paid to eat at a buffet and hang out with you guys, do nothing.
I mean, that's how it was back then. I mean, because when we first got hired up there, we just got hired as the part-time guys that just came in for TV because they wanted more competitive matches. And then we were one of the few ones that got signed to actual full-time contracts.
Didn't you guys go up there as the Spiders originally?
Way before everything else, yeah.
Right. Way before you get up there as a Headbangers, you got to push. I mean, years before.
Right.
And you know, I
mean, back when Larry told us, "Don't go up there as the Spiders; it's going to ruin you."
Yeah. Hey, here's a funny story, Glenn. My wife is from South Jersey, right?
What part of South Jersey?
She's from Washington Township.
Okay.
So, and I lived up there for about 6 years. That's how I met her. She came to work for me. I'm sorry. She's from West Deptford. Correction.
Well,
she runs out and goes West Deptford.
Closer.
Yeah, it's even closer, right?
Yeah, that's even closer to me.
And her mom used to work for Dennis Corluzzo at the insurance office. So.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah, and when Dennis and Larry were running together, my wife, who's 17 years younger than me, when we first got together, she goes, "Do you know that wrestler that was a Spider?" I said, "This guy?" And I showed her you. She goes, "Oh yeah, I had such a crush on him." my wife was, I know she was a mark for you before she even met me. You gotta be kidding me.
That's funny.
But, you know, she used to be at all the shows. Remember the Woodbury Armory? Remember when Larry used to run there and pack the place? That place was insane, man.
Yep. But
I remember.
It's funny, back then the independents used to draw so much. I mean, Larry would run that once a month at the school, and we'd have 800-900 people in there.
You know, it was crazy, man. He would pack the place. It was insane. And I remember when I wrestled. I don't know if you remember. I think you guys may have worked it, maybe not. I ran a show in South Jersey at Monongahela Middle School in like 96. It might have been before you guys came in. And it was like 96, I think. And Dennis called me and said, "I want to be part of the show." And I said, "Dennis, no offense, but you know, it's a benefit show for Monongahela." So he got all pissed off, and I had Doink and Dink on the card. And
oh gosh.
Well, that 96, it was still popular, you know. It wasn't like today when you see a doink and you're like, are you kidding me, really? So, and I forget who did it. It wasn't Bob Starr. I can't remember who was doing doink. It might have been, I don't know if it was, I don't think it was Matt. It might have been Ray Apollo. And, he was doing doink and I got the guy that played Dink on the show. And then, you know, Dennis turned me into WWE and I got a letter from their attorneys in Pittsburgh and they filed an injunction. That's when they had the athletic commission with Larry Hazard. And they filed an injunction at 3:00 on Friday afternoon to stop the show.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Dennis was shady. Dennis would do, I don't know, maybe not shady is a good word, but Dennis was underhanded, man. If he could run a show, he would make sure nobody else could.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, he made some money in doing those independents and stuff like that around South Jersey and stuff.
Sure, I remember the Cherry Hill Armory. He would pack that place, man. It was insane. I remember when he had
unreal.
Yeah, he had. I remember one time. Go ahead.
Then you see on social media these kids going, it's a packed house, and there's 75 people there.
They have no idea. You know what? Back then, if we wrestled in front of less than 500, everybody was disappointed.
Yeah.
I mean, people just drew. I mean, we drew 400 and something in that bar on nights. That was crazy. And you know, the thing is, nobody understands that these days.
You know what the funniest part is, too? Is we were sitting in there, we were getting like $30, $40, and we're like, oh my God, this is so great. Oh, we got like $10 more. It was a good house. And then when you sit here and realize how much these motherfucking promoters were making off of them houses, and then we were getting $40, $50 and we were excited about it, they were, oh my God. They were just, they were raking it in back then.
Yeah, and thank God for Tom Casati.
That's right.
I know, right? He would hook the boys up. He told me one time, he goes, I got $150 to do a show. I said, what? And that was before I'd done any work at WWE fill-in or anything like that, you know. And he says, I said, what? And he goes, yeah, in West Virginia. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I thought it was a pick and shit when I got $150 back then, man.
I'll never forget the time that he tells a bunch of us, it was me, Chaz, Dawn Marie, and Putski, Missy Hyatt, all these people.
Buddy Landell.
We have all these shows over in Aruba.
I remember
shows, blah, 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 all this other stuff. We get on the plane and Tom's sitting in one of the seats and goes, hey guys, I'm pulling a rib on you. There's no shows. Isn't that a step? And do you not know that motherfucker still paid us like there were shows? So we had a vacation that was paid for, and we had an ongoing bar tab that was an astronomical amount of money, and he still paid us like we did 10 shows.
Those are crazy days, man. I remember we used to, do you remember that big show Casati used to have once a year in New York City?
Yes.
That was huge, man. I remember one night we had, me and Jason Knight and Cicero and Casati, they were riding, Jason Knight, Cicero and Casati were riding with me. And Casati goes, well, let's go to Scores. I'm like, I'm not going to drop that kind of cheese. He goes, I got it covered. So we go to Scores after the show, and they were open to like 4 a.m. And we stayed at Casati, paid for, they would give you a back massage back then.
Yeah.
And Casati would just keep paying. And Jason, like, gets a massage. He goes, get one. I'm like, no, I don't. He goes, go ahead. I go, okay. And he goes, we'll get a couple cigars too. I'm like, what? And Casati must have dropped $1,500 easy that night at Scores. It was crazy. You know, he didn't bat an eye.
No, back then, no. There was no. And how many times we used to go out and do crazy stuff at that restaurant down in Maryland, the Double T or
Double T. My God, the Double T Diner.
Whatever that place was called. Yeah,
Double T Diner.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh man, dude.
Is that still around? Is it still functioning?
You know what? I don't know. I asked Brian Holhouse. He'll know. I don't know. That was a riot.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to Hurricanes up there with him?
Yes. Yes, we did a show for Danny not that long ago, and
Did you?
down at the NCW place that he has at his school,
Right.
and where he does his shows and stuff like that. What a nice
Right.
setup he's got going for him down there.
I know.
I mean, he packed the place that night. I mean, there had to be 700-800 people in there and stuff like that. So, it was so neat just going down there and reminiscing with the guys and everything else, and remembering what the days that it used to be like and everything else, and going, my God. I mean, half of the stuff I remember, half of the stuff I don't remember. Like that story you were telling me, yeah, I mean, it's so bad. I mean, Hugh, I don't know about you, but I mean, it makes me wonder about the concussion syndrome and stuff like that. And now with that being brought out in front, and how many concussions do you think that we've had through the years and everything else? I mean, what are you in 25 years? 26?
Yeah, 33 now.
Yeah, I'm going, around the 25. I think I'm in 25, 26.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like there's some things that, I mean, I don't know if it's just because of everything that I did back then or what. I mean, I just don't remember a lot of stuff. It's terrible.
Well, I think it's the concussions. I'll tell you why. I had 2 of them in about 3 months, and I had a right side brain bleed in one of them, and I lost my short-term memory. I can tell you exactly when it was. It happened in July 1999. I was working Julio on a show in Maryland on a school down in Lanham, Maryland, and he gave me, I guess it was a rock bottom. I don't remember much, but I landed on top of my head. It was so bad the Axel came out of the locker room because he thought I broke my neck. And I was out, and I just remember fuzzy and bright light, and I said, Julio, cover me, and he covered me. And I went home that night, and I'm driving home, and I convinced the Maryland Athletic Commission I was okay to drive. So let me drive. Right. And I pulled out, and every headlight was about as big around as, I don't know, the size of a silo on a barn. And I only had to go about 15 miles. Now, keep this in mind. I was married at the time, and my wife and I had moved 2 years before up the same street, 5 houses. So I go to the old house. You went to the wrong
house, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to the old house. And I'm trying to get the key in the door, and the guy opens the door, and it's a friend of mine. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "What are you doing at my house, Dennis?" He goes, "It's my house. I bought it from you 2 years ago. You moved up the street." I'm like, "What?" And he, at first I pull in, there's a white Honda. I said, "Who's my ex-wife banging now?"
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right? So so he goes, "You know what? I'm going to drive you home in your car and I'll walk back." And brother, my brain was scrambled. My brain was scrambled so bad, I'd taken my oldest daughter to swim with the dolphins in June, and I lost the previous 3 months. And when I watched that video, it's like watching a movie I was in that I made that I have no recollection of whatsoever.
Yeah.
I can't remember. And then, what happens is now it's like, thank God I got a young wife to take care of me, man, because she has to help me during the day. I'll leave the house driving and I can't remember where I'm going and I can't get there, and then I have trouble getting back home sometimes. I mean, honestly, it's really bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better. And I forget, my problem is I have my short-term memory shot. I can remember a lot of stuff back in the day, but I can't remember anything that happened in like the last month or two. It's gone. I can't get it, which makes having a job rather difficult. Makes having a job rather difficult.
Yeah, I hear that. Definitely.
And on top of it, I'm the national sales manager for this company, so I handle the whole country. So it's like I got to remember 3 different time zones. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think people
it gets like that.
But, we used to wrestle in rings that were built by guys who built decks and didn't build rings. And, sometimes the rings would, and, they would fall apart and they would be so stiff when you bumped in them that it just agony. And I remember the first time I went up to WWE, the rings were really stiff, dude. Really stiff.
Yeah, the old TV rings were really bad because from what I was, told back then, I don't know if it was a myth or what it was, but back then when we were going up there to do TVs and stuff like that, they had, these ginormous big guys back then, and from what I heard is they had to reinforce the structure so it wouldn't collapse. I mean, I'm fairly new in the business. I'm going, well, that makes sense. And then, later on, later on, me and Chaz go back up there, and we're bumping in the ring and going, "Wow, this isn't that bad anymore." Not unless it's, just through the years, you just learn that some of these rings are going to be trash, and it's just it's amazing. It's amazing. You appreciate when you get into a good bumping ring and when you're not.
Well, you know what I heard? Yeah, you do. You know what I heard the inside scoop was, and I don't know how much truth this is to this, but I wouldn't doubt it, because if you think about it, this happened at about the same time when Vince and Shane started getting in there. I was there the night that Vince got stunned by Steve Austin the first time. I remember sitting in the back, and it was so freaking loud you couldn't hear nothing. But I had heard that when they first started bumping in the rings, it was too stiff for them, so they ordered new rings. And that wouldn't surprise me a bit, because they honestly did they give a damn about you bumping in a stiff ring? Did they care?
Absolutely not.
Yep. You know what? You were a piece of meat to make money with, and that was how you were treated.
And what's so funny is I used to so disagree with that and everything else. And then I remembered when I went out for my knee surgery how, they didn't send me to Dr. Andrews or anything else like that. They were just like, all right, we'll go, get it fixed. I didn't have a doctor that was checking up on me. I didn't have somebody from the office, regardless who it was, calling me to see, how my rehab was or paying me to go to that rehab or anything else. It was like, all right, well, you blew your knee out on live TV because of, another wrestler that will be left nameless, didn't know how to work. And, we're just going to let you fend for yourself. I probably could have been back a lot sooner than I was, but it was, I go to this doctor. I thought he was all right, but, he's not, Dr. Andrews that everybody else went to.
Right.
So, I absolutely 100%, it's, what can you do for me now? WWE attitude kind of thing. It's not, what have you done for me or anything else like that. I mean, Jesus Christ, we're not even listed on their alumni page, let alone fucking anywhere. Yes, they'll put us up there for the history books and, we won the tag titles, we won the NWA tag team. They'll use, us on their TV, the network and everything else. But God forbid they list us as alumni or anything else. And it doesn't bother Chaz as much as it bothers me. It's the only place that I've ever worked. I've never worked at WCW. We had a chance to go to WCW when everybody was jumping ship, but we never did. It was like, no, I want to stay here. It's the same thing with Chaz. It's the only place he ever worked. But it was just the fact that, you do all this stuff for him and you bust your ass and, you're part of the biggest wrestling time ever in history, being, part of the Attitude Era, and, they don't even know your fucking name.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's the problem is they cast you aside when they're done with you, or you're hurt, or you can't come back, or whatever the reason is. And they don't have a second thought about doing it. And listen, I got to tell you, the day that I was disillusioned completely, it was the last week that Cornette was booking, and he gave me and Cicero 4 shots, 2 in a row, and for Raw and SmackDown. And Stevie Richards was wrestling Jericho, and Jericho threw him out of the ring, and he broke his foot. So he's with us that night, and he goes, I don't know what to do. I said, what do you mean you don't know what to do? Go to the ER, man. That thing, I said it's busted. I can tell. And it was busted bad. So he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go. Finally, it hurt so bad he went. The next night on the Tuesday night SmackDown tapings, I swear to God, he's there with a cast on. We're talking. Vince comes up and says, what the F did you do? And he said, Jericho threw me out last night. I broke my ankle. And Vince looked at him and says, well, I guess that fucking push is over. And I'm like, wow, man. Yep. He didn't say, how are you? Are you okay? What's the prognosis? When are you going to be out of the cast? All he worried about was the money he wasted on the push. It was like, boy, if that wasn't the attitude. And, I know a lot of guys that were up there. We got a lot of friends that were up there. And, Matt and Jeff started as enhancement guys. And, we got beat up when they're young. And then they got a huge push up there. And, I know I've talked to Matt about it before, and, it's the same way. I mean, when you're there, you feel like you're doing okay and everything, but the second you get hurt, man, it's just weird. They'll take Austin or somewhere or The Rock and they'll send him down to Dr. Andrews and get him fixed up and first class treatment and care and, a nurse calling you every 3 days to see how you're doing. And then the other guys, they just like, well, go get it fixed, and that really go get it fixed is, go fuck yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's kind of sad for me because I got a lot of friends that were up there and, they got the same treatment when they left. And it's just like, man, you're $1 billion a year company. Take care of your friggin' people. I mean, really.
But here's the kicker to me. I mean, this is the only bad aspect that I've ever talked about with my WWF time, WWE time, whatever, was just the way my injury was handled. And also the fact, I mean, they'll repeatedly send the same guys through drug rehab time and time and time again.
Or girls.
And they will be on TV time and time again and fuck up time and time again. But we did everything and anything that was asked of us, and we're not even fucking on the alumni page. To me, it just boggles my mind. I don't understand. I don't know if maybe we did have heat with somebody up there. I just want to know. I mean, because if there is, I'd like to resolve it and just, I would like to, go up there for an old school Raw and make an appearance and things like that. And,
right.
Just like everybody else does. Because I'll tell you what, me and Chaz right now, we're in the best shapes of our lives.
I've seen that. You look fantastic.
Ever been in. And it's just like, I can do the same shit that I did 20 years ago. And
right.
I just want that opportunity to go one more time in the WWE ring and stuff like that.
Sure.
And that's it. I mean,
sure.
it just boggles my mind how they can push aside, two people that were willing and able and did everything and anything that was asked of them. And then you got these other guys that go through rehab after rehab after rehab after rehab that, are spending WWE money, going through that rehab time and time again and relapsing and everything else. And they get nothing. They get, what do they get? They get belts, they get Hall of Fame rings, they get all the kudos and all this other stuff. And
right.
then, you have me and Chaz that we can't even, fucking get anybody to answer a phone call from us.
Yeah, and what's messed up is I remember, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, right, when you guys started that original get back into WWE thing, and I really thought that something was going to happen out of that because there were a lot of people pushing for you and people making calls and everything else, and it just kind of died down. But I follow you guys all the time, and you guys are both in freaking tremendous shape, man. Especially you. You're definitely in the best shape I've ever seen you in your career. When
that whole thing stopped for us, it was right after when they had WrestleMania Q down here in Miami. Because me and Chaz both live in South Florida now.
Right.
So they had the Miami, they had the Monday Night Raw, and then it was like, I don't know, almost 9 months later, they did a SmackDown down here in at Miami at the AAA Arena or whatever it's called and stuff like that. So we talked to Road Dogg, Jesse, who we still talk to, constantly. We're like, hey, we want to come by, see everybody, say hi, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. All right, well, you guys got to get dressed up. You guys have to wear business casual. First of all, that's not fucking who I am.
No.
Nope. But anyway, I complied. I did exactly what they said and everything else. So we go in, we're seeing everybody and everything else. Hunter came up to us and said, hey guys, good to see you, and just walked away.
Wow.
I mean, it was just, I mean, I'm not asking for, a 45-minute conversation, but a little bit of the time of day would have been nice.
Yeah, that's pretty,
maybe it's
crazy.
Just me being old and bitchy, I don't know.
No, and listen, I don't think it is. You guys were apart. As much as it hurts me to say this and put you guys over. Just kidding. I'm just kidding, man. You guys were there during a very iconic period. I mean, the Attitude Era, and I remember being up there. I remember being up there when when I walked in a locker room and I fell over Brian Pillman, who was crashed out on the floor. You know, things weren't looking good, and WWE was having trouble, and Vince and Brett went through that thing. And, you know, I remember being up there so recently that Vince still had the same black eye. And, you know, I'm thinking to myself, anybody that was part of that, I mean, look how the fans responded when they brought Vader back. I mean, if you guys came back, especially in the shape you're in now, and they played your music and you guys came out, I guarantee the whole place would pop like they hardly ever, if at all, hear it anymore. It would go nuts. It would go nuts, dude, because everybody knows who you are and they haven't seen you in forever. And to go in there in fantastic shape and highlight on a Raw and do a tag team. I mean, even if you went in there and just gave another tag team a rub and put them over, you know what I mean? Had a competitive match.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what.
Because, I mean, it's funny, Q, because that's all, you know, you want to do when you're, you know, in the last leg of your career is you want to pass on the knowledge. I mean, you know how it is. You want to pass everything you can to people that want to listen and learn. You don't want to pass it on to these yo-yos that fucking think that they, you know, high spot after high spot after high spot's going to make them fucking a multi-millionaire and they're going to be on, you know, WWE TV being the heavyweight champ and shit like that. You know, save that for your backyard bullshit. And,
that's right.
You know, for the people that want to learn the philosophy and how to build a story with a match and get the people invested into what they're doing and to care, that's what's missing today.
Oh, absolutely.
The people being invested in the characters and, you know, and caring. I mean, you know, why did you want Hulk Hogan to beat the Iron Sheik? Because you were invested in Hulk Hogan, the character. And you couldn't stand the Iron Sheik for no matter whatever he did. You couldn't stand anything he did. You were invested. They told a story, good versus evil. It was a story. Where's that gone?
Yeah, you know, now it seems like anything put on television is just an advertisement for a pay-per-view or a video game. You know what I mean? And the WrestleManias are the same way. I mean, you know, they do a build-up for the main event match, but they don't do a build-up the way they used to do it. When Hogan was going to fight Andre, that took a year. That build-up was a year. You know, that's how you build up a main event. You take a year and you have conflict between these guys. And that's how you get exactly what you said. People need to be emotionally invested in the characters. That's when wrestling was great. And it's not going to be great again until that happens and people up top understand that the day they replaced bookers with writers is the day the business went in the shits.
And it's so funny too. And people go to wrestling matches to escape reality for 2.5, 3 hours and stuff like that. They want to boo a villain. They want to cheer the good guy and stuff like that. You know, you got everybody that comes out nowadays. They want to be an ass-kicking Steve Austin, you know, wannabe. And, you know, there's only one Steve Austin. And, you know, get off of it. There's only one Shawn Michaels. Get off of him. You know, be your own person. I mean, Jesus Christ, have some creative ability.
You know, and that's the thing that people don't understand is, you know, back in the day, I mean, if you look at the guys that worked the independents, even the guys that were successful just on the indie scene in the Northeast that were working, you know, 3-4 times a week, I mean, everybody had a character. Everybody was something different. There was nobody like each other, you know, and that's the thing I try to tell people, you know, I call it the Stone Cold Curse. Because ever since he was on top, it's like all these guys want to be a tough guy. Listen, I'm the biggest stupid, dumbest acting Southern heel. You know what I mean? I mean, I just act like I'm getting fucking shit pulled over my eyes and people are laughing, but they're also hating me at the same time. You know, but where's that character gone? I mean, I modeled myself after Bugsy McGraw, to be honest. You know, where are the, you know, but yet I had a completely different look and did it a little bit different. And people don't understand. They had the best Stone Cold ever. They could give two rats' asses about anybody who's an imitation of the best ever badass. They don't want that. And kids don't understand it. They want to be the Rock or the Stone Cold or whoever. Buddy, they had that guy and they had the best. You'd better be a mediocre original than a great rip-off artist, because great rip-off artists are called exactly that. They're a great rip-off artist. That's it.
Yep.
You know, and I listen, I see guys come out after you guys that tried to do the same thing. They had a Scottish team up there. What the hell were they called?
The Highlanders.
The Highlanders. And I heard they're nice guys,